So then this pathway is going to be for proprioception, two-point discrimination, and vibratory sense. So remember, this is where they cross here. At the medulla oblongata. So if you have a lesion in the spinal cord, are you going to have a loss of sensation on the same side or the opposite side? Same side or opposite? Yeah.
Same side as the lesion.
Same side. Because where does it cross? Where's that? Here. I mean, technically the medulla is still kind of part of the spinal cord, but if you talk about the spinal cord level, down here, okay? So like if you have, you know, somebody has a spinal cord lesion, let's say like L2, L3, okay? They're going to have a loss of posterior column from that on that same side, okay? Because it doesn't cross. Let's say, because if we're talking about a lesion on only one half of the spinal cord, let's say somebody has a tumor on the right side of their spinal cord and it affects the posterior column. So you're going to lose sensation of that same side because it doesn't cross until it goes up here to the MO. Okay? So now if you had a lesion in the thalamus up here, let's say you had a lesion on the thalamus on the left side, which side of the body are you going to have the loss of perception?
Right side.
Opposite side. Yeah. Okay. So when we're talking about these tracts, you have to consider where does it cross. Does it cross? Sometimes they're going to cross at the level of the spinal cord, where it enters. In this case, they don't cross at the level of the spinal cord. They cross up at the medulla oblongata. So this is going to be the posterior column. So just remember, it goes into the spinal cord, and it's going to come on the dorsal root back here. It's going to go to the back part of the spinal cord. It's going to ascend on that same side to the medulla oblongata. Then it crosses and goes to the thalamus, and then to the cerebral cortex. So it crosses in the medulla oblongata, not at the spinal cord level where it enters. And then these other questions in here, let's see, let's go to the next. Then actually where this for terminology, you can see in the notes here where it says where the place where it actually crosses is known as the medial lemniscus. So this part of the medulla oblongata is called the medial lemniscus, where it actually crosses. Okay? But that's not as important as knowing more of where the, you know, when you have lesions of the spinal cord, especially if it's one half of the spinal cord, we'll talk about, okay, you'd have sensory loss on one side or motor loss on the other side, because as we go through these different things, that's where it's going to end up. Because that's a lot of times what's going to be on different board exams or things that you're going to take. They're going to say, if you have, you know, a lesion on one half of the spinal cord, you know, it's going to be maybe sensory on one side of the body versus motor on the other side of the body. So you need to kind of have these things mapped out and make sense of it in your head so that you'll be able to figure it out and say, okay, if I got a lesion here, that means they're going to lose this, they're going to lose that. Okay? It's like you have to have the road map so you can know which of things are going to get affected, which information goes through which tracts, which part of the gray of the white matter of the spinal cord carries what kind of information. Okay, so again, it's, you know, I said before I made a mistake, I said unconscious proprioception. It's going to be conscious proprioception. Okay? It's like if you consciously know the position of the joints of your hand. Okay? So you can tell, because before in a general sense, when you just talk about sensations, like can you feel your hand? But now we're going to get into more specific types of sensation. Like one of them is conscious proprioception, meaning that you consciously know the position that your arms are in, the position that your legs are in. Okay? So you have a sense, like where, if you need to scratch your leg, you're going to reach down and you're going to know where it is because you have a conscious proprioception of what position your joints are in, and you know where your body is in space. And so then it's also going to be the 2-point discrimination, and then vibration sense. Because remember before when we did this preview of the 5-minute neuro type of thing, I had that tuning for it, right? And you either have it vibrating or not vibrating. So vibration sense is to be able to sense whether something's vibrating or not vibrating. Okay? So now we're getting into all the more finer points of exactly what kind of sensory information is your body processing. And then we'll also talk about pain and then temperature sense. But right now we're talking about proprioception, 2-point discrimination, stereognosis, which is going to be the ability to tell what something is when you're done. It's like in the dark when you reach, if the power's out where you live or something, and you go, okay, I know, all right, here's the couch, this is the end of the table, I can feel this, I can feel my way around. You can recognize objects by touch. So, it's a little hard to read with this color. We're talking about lesions in the spinal cord. Remember, this sensory information is coming up from one side of the body in that same side of the cord. It crosses here, goes to the thalamus, and then goes to the cerebral cortex. So problems in the cerebral cortex on one side is going to be a loss of sensation to the other side of the body. But if it's in the spinal cord, and if it's half of the spinal cord, anything below the medulla oblongata is cutting off the information from that same side. So we'll talk about ipsilateral loss and contralateral loss. Right? So which one is going to be ipsilateral and which one's going to be contralateral? The cerebral cortex or the spinal cord? Spinal is going to be ipsilateral, cerebral cortex is going to be contralateral. So if we talk about T9, on the right side of T9, which foot's that going to affect?
Right.
So then now we're talking about up a little bit higher. So we're talking about C5. So what's that going to affect? The C5 on the left. It's still going to be the same side, but it's going to be the leg, the hand, or the leg, or both? Both? Oh, you need both, yeah.
Why both? Because it's still so high.
Well, we're talking about the whole half of the spinal cord. Okay, because the lower part of the spinal cord, all it's going to have is information from the legs. We're talking about up here, it's got information from the arms and the legs. It's just like if you have a spinal cord, you break your back and you sever your spinal cord here, you're only going to lose your legs, motor-wise. You're still going to have, so you'd be paraplegic, not quadriplegic. Right. But technically, let's say if you had a tumor that only affected a portion of the spinal cord, you could have loss of either the arm or the leg. But when we're talking about this, we're talking about the whole half of the spinal cord on one side. So it's the same side, right side, arm and leg. So right side of the brain, would it be same side of the body or opposite side?
Opposite.
Opposite side. So we're speaking in generalities where it's going to be the arm and the leg. I mean, if you talk about very specific tumors in the brain that might only affect part of the thalamus or part of the cerebral cortex, it might just be the arm or it might just be the leg. But let's keep it simple. This general concept is that you want to understand is that it's in the brain, it's the other side of the body, it's in the spinal cord, it's the same side.